Hello there, beautiful people, my lovely YouTube family and friends. A warm welcome to you all to Nanabe's Kitchen. And congratulations for making it into the year 2021. Brand spanking new. Yes, you are ready to take on whatever this year has to offer you. Now on the menu today is a one-pot spaghetti and meatball dish. There will be several of those on this channel this year. For those of you who have families and are constantly on the run and still have to provide nutritious dishes for your family that are packed with flavor. So here today what we're going to do is ensure that the meatballs are juicy and are flavorsome. The sauce will complement everything in that pot excellently. And I start by prepping my fresh produce, so my parsley and the bulb onions get a rough chop because they will go into the food processor. I have one large onion which I will give a chop to, and the clean basil leaves will be removed from the woody stalk. Now today we're taking the pesto approach in forming our meatballs, all right? That's how we're going to layer flavors into our meatballs. And for our pesto, we're going to need some basil, a handful. And a handful and a half of parsley. This is flat leaf parsley. And 3 bulb onions. These are a cross between scallions and white onions. Love their fragrance. We have our Parmesan cheese for that nuttiness, and it's also going to help to season. We also have our roasted garlic, and I have a 1/4 cup of that. Half a teaspoon of fennel seeds. The fennel seeds introduce a licorice flavor which will work excellently with our choice of protein today. Two thin slices of white bread, and you can substitute this with half a cup of breadcrumbs. Now you would want to introduce carbohydrates into your meatballs because what they do is they absorb moisture, and we do want to make sure that our meatballs are moist. A little bit of olive oil will go a long way in ensuring that we keep that moisture in the meatballs. And I'm also going to add about 1/6 a cup of beef broth. This is homemade, and I have linked the recipe below for you. Half a teaspoon of homemade all-purpose seasoning. Half a teaspoon of crushed black pepper. Salt to taste. So friends, we've created our pesto, which has our moisture retainer in there, as well the 2 slices of bread we have added to it, which is really going to help improve the texture of the meatballs in the end as well. So let's go ahead and combine the 2 components. Now I go in with my dominant hand, and I am taking a very tender approach with this because we do not want our meatballs to become tough. We want them to be tender. So what you want to do is gently fold your pesto in. You want to at all costs avoid overworking this mixture so that your meatballs stay juicy and tender. And then proceed right along by deciding on what size meatballs you want. Take the amount desired and then roll the mixture between your palm to form a perfect meatball. And wow, the herbs and spices used are exuding a very refreshing sensation. They are fabulous flavor boosters. And although it is almost impossible to make a mistake in layering flavors in a meatball recipe, you do still need to have some very important components. You know, your flavor boosters must be there, your moisture returners must be there. You also need your binder. Now, in this case, you know, that white bread I use is also acting as a binder, all right? So we didn't need to use eggs. Now, if you like eggs, you can absolutely add it. The time has come to put a sear on these fragrant meatballs. They're gonna be so delicious. I have some olive oil in the pan that's on medium heat. And the goal here is always to up the flavors as much as possible. Take advantage of those techniques that will help you to reach that goal, right? And caramelizing and searing work hand in hand together to help us to draw us closer to that goal, all right? So you want to brown your meatballs as much as possible on all sides. And what you want to do is place your pan on medium heat. The oil should just be enough to coat the bottom of your pan. And there it is. How beautiful are those? Done. Now a little more oil in the same pan. We're using the same pan because it still has those drippings from searing our meatballs. So more flavor, right? Add your onions. All right, so friends, our meatballs are done and they're sitting to rest. So the juices stay within them. The pot is still on medium heat and I have poured in my chopped red onions, just one large onion. I'm going to add some salt, crushed black pepper, and the rest of the ingredients to form the actual spaghetti sauce. I have an ingredient for a kick, and it's red pepper flakes, just a small amount to taste. And of course, all-purpose seasoning, homemade, which I'll be sharing the recipe soon. Now some more flavor boosting ingredients. I've just added 1 frozen cube of my homemade fresh herb and spice blend. Recipe coming up very, very soon, so be on the lookout for that. Now I'm also going to be adding some homemade tomato ragu. I will be sharing that recipe with you pretty soon. Now in a tomato sauce for pasta preparation such as this one, you want a kick of sweetness, all right, to brighten those rich flavors. And you get that, some of that from the tomatoes, but you also want to kind of kick it up a notch. Now you can use tomato paste to achieve that, or you can also use beets as I'm doing here today. So I got some fresh beets, and after prepping my beets, I always out of habit soak them in some vinegar to keep them fresh, almost like in a pickled state, so they don't spoil on me. All right, so I blend them up into a puree and I take a heaping tablespoonful of it and add it to my tomato sauce. And it does not only bring nutrition, but then it also improves the color. You see how red the tomato sauce looks. It's so rich and it's tasty. It has that background hint of sweetness, exactly what we're going for. So like I said, you can use your carrot puree, and I have some water boiling to cook my spaghetti in, and I've seasoned it generously with some salt. You want your pasta water to have a sea salty taste quality to it, so seasoning generously is very crucial. We're going to wait until it comes back to a boil before we add our spaghetti to it. Now my tomato sauce has been cooking for 5 minutes post adding the beets and the tomato ragu. Now I've stirred it and I have added some beef stock. All right, recipe is linked below. That's the beef stock from the beef bones. All right, and I've added that to loosen it up a little bit to create more sauce as well. So we're also looking for volume. And now I have incorporated the meatballs, and I'm adding all those juices back into the pot. Our generously seasoned pasta water has come back to an aggressive boil, so we add our pasta to it now. I want to encourage you to use the instructions on the pasta packaging to cook your pasta till it is al dente, meaning that it has a chew to it. So do not overcook your pasta. Actually use a timer if at all possible so that you do not forget to check on the pasta, all right? You can save some of your pasta water just in case. You never know. You might need to loosen the sauce a little more. Who knows? You might want a more loosened consistency in terms of your sauce. And if that's the case, the pasta water will be the perfect way to do that. All right? And there, voila. Add the pasta to the sauce, which has been cooking an extra 5 minutes after adding the meatballs to it. Now that is a meatball pasta sauce you will not stop raving about. To put it quite simply, the sweetness is only in the background as a hint flavor that complements the savoriness excellently. And as for the textures in the meatballs, oh, absolutely to live for. Yes, it is tender, almost melt in your mouth, fall apart, just perfection. Now cook 5 extra minutes post adding the meatballs with its juices with the lid on, and then add your drained spaghetti to it and stir it in. It is time to serve. You can garnish with an optional step using some fresh basil leaves or parsley leaves. It is indeed satisfying to the taste buds and appealing to the eyes. Just take a look at how well coated the spaghetti is with this tasty sauce. The spaghetti is al dente as it should be, so it has that perfect chew to it. And oh, your sauce should be dripping off the pasta, yes. And if you want your sauce a little more loosened, then use some of the pasta water. So don't drain all of it off, save some. It is the perfect way to loosen your pasta sauce without risking the possible dilution of all those flavors you have worked so hard in layering into your sauce, all right? Now take another close look at how tender this meatball is. Now see also the textures. Did you also see the juiciness it presents? Now that bite will make you slap your mama. With love, always with love. Yeah, so this one we call it ni ni ngo, ni ni kpakpa, ezibana papebi. Ah! Oh yeah, do ye ma wanka. Mr. Try. Original Mama Betty Beka. Jayo, beko ye. All right, friends and family, it is chop time. And you know, in a novice kitchen, chop time is always yes, friend. So pull up a chair because we are all friends here. Hope to see you pretty soon on my next one. Make it a great day and have fun, especially in that kitchen.